we can just work in the sheet here and maybe answer some questions here. How comfortable did you
Yes.
feel? Hey, Nugget. How comfortable did you feel with your quantifications on a scale of 1 to 5? We can start with Livy.
Yeah, I felt like I had a good understanding of most of the praises, but there was a lot of duplicates, so it made the process a little draining. And I passed to Zep.
Thanks, Levi. Yeah, for me it was also like pretty natural. Like just didn't remember the praise, and yeah, I also felt like there was many duplicates, but then at the same time, some duplicates were spread between. So I was deciding also not to count them as duplicate sometimes when they were so spread. And then I also had one issue, like when I was trying to say this praise is duplicate with this other one, I had an error, and then if I said like this praise duplicated with something someone else, but the one that it was duplicate, it was working, but just with that one praise was not working. I sent a screenshot in the quantifiers chat the other day.
Yeah, a lot of people have reported this issue, and I opened a GitHub issue for a week ago, or maybe more than that actually. So yeah, something that we're hoping to resolve. But I think a couple of people have reported the same thing.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll pass it to you, Mitch.
Yeah, it was good for me. It, I had the same issue as Livy. Like the duplicates get really exhausting, and so I think we should put some effort into making it easier to mark duplicates in the UX. But other than that, like 300 praise, did it in an hour and a half. It's getting a lot easier actually, but yeah. And I'll pass it to Maxwell.
Yeah, so maybe a 3. I felt okay with it until maybe I got some feedback that maybe I didn't quite understand it as well as I thought I did. um, I'll echo the duplicates. It wasn't too bad, right? But given how many there are, keyword search is a great idea. That I see that in the notes. Or the ability to, I don't know if you can mark, like if you do a keyword search and then like have like a checkbox or something next to them where you can mark all of them, like multiple duplicates at the same time. That would be fast, right? Because a lot of the praise, it was really easy to see because it had the exact same topic. I don't know if this goes for general comments, but just one other feedback is that because it was my first time, I it was kind of a shot in the dark, right? For sometimes as far as like actual quantification. Um, I don't know if we're going to get into more, of the detail here, but it might be good to record these or have people attend one of these before doing a quant for the first time, just to see how other people are doing it. Um, I don't know if that makes sense, but one other comment.
Did you feel like you could understand what the contributions were? Like, did you feel like the the value you were giving was somehow fair to what was being described?
I think it was fairly easy to understand. There was a couple terminology pieces where I didn't realize they were duplicates until later because they would be referenced in the same comment. And all this, and then I'd have to go back and fix, right? Um, but that's just not being, super familiar with it, which obviously will get better as you do it more. Um, but no, in general, I thought it was pretty easy. I think the biggest challenge and maybe why I'm suggesting someone attend one of these is, and I don't know if we're going to get into the actual ratings, because again, this is my first one to
We will.
attend, but perfect. So I think I understand why we wouldn't want to necessarily have like a chart or something that it makes it objective, but being able to see a rough subjective range, I think would have helped because in my head, certain things are, more valuable, less valuable, but I have no idea if that or how that maps to the actual scale for what the larger group, has been doing. So so it would be helpful to see that once before the first quant.
Cool. Great. Yeah, and we'll get into some more granular feedback a little bit later. But that was really good. I think Nuggin, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Um, yeah, I would like to add to what Maxwell said because I had a bit of the same issue. Like, I ended up using just a smaller range of the total points available just because I wasn't sure how much I should value something. So some kind of rough guidelines there, I think, would definitely help. Then, yeah, duplicates were a bit annoying, but I also just maybe just this being able to tick several at the same time is something good, but I don't really can't think of anything else to make that easier. Um, yeah, but the rest went well. I'm kind of would like to ask you into the round, what exactly did you count as duplicates? Because I just focused mainly when the same person praised the same thing, not necessarily that like if five different people praised something which was similar but in their own ways, I kind of quantified it as separate praise, and maybe that was wrong. I'm thinking now,
Hmm.
but yeah,
Yeah, actually, Metodo asked a couple questions, and I think he actually made a really good summary of the duplication thing. And
okay,
I'm sharing it here on my screen actually. And so he just says same praise giver, same praise verbatim, and the same week.
Miss,
Uh,
yeah,
dismiss. I think there's a bug in the system that's counting some of this stuff twice. Same praise giver, same similar praise, and different weeks. Quantify. Different praise giver, same contribution praised, and the same week is a duplicate. Different praise, same contribution praised, and a different week is quantify.
okay, yeah, I hadn't seen that. That makes sense.
It's
Great,
good. He just posted it a couple hours ago. But yeah, I think that's a really good summary of the duplicate issue.
definitely.
Um, Vi, do you want to add any comments,
Yeah,
or
sure.
just tell me how did you feel about your quantification?
It felt good. It was nice to go revisit like old place. There were some issues. Duplicates are an issue, but I think like the biggest issue with the duplicates is that there's a lot of delegate praising, like praise that's done on a call and then it gets transcribed. That's why you might have seen like there's this many different praises from the same user that say the same thing. Uh, Maybe phrased slightly differently. So I think that that's probably going to be fixed sometime soon. And this model that they do posted, this looks interesting, but I've personally been going about with a different kind of mindset, which is like, uh, mark duplicate praise on a user basis, like for one user instead of different users. Like that's a different contribution. You count it as a different
Sorry,
contribution or something.
what you're talking user as in the praise receiver or the praise giver?
Yeah, the praise giver. If it's the same praise from different praise givers, but it's
Mm-hmm.
praised out differently, and it's about the same thing. I try to mm, adjust my scale for it. Like you give them one in one of the places you give them a really great score if it's a good thing it has a lot of value, and in the rest of the duplicates which I don't mark as duplicates I just mark a lesser value, keeping that thing in account, which I think is slightly tiresome. So maybe the the method suggested by Mateo might be better. I know that's how I personally felt about it. We should mark duplicate praise for from coming from different givers.
Because I mean, we do like. Sorry, I just want to understand what you're saying. So you're saying if multiple praise givers praise the same contribution to the same person in the same week,
Mm.
you're quantifying it, but like you're giving the duplicates a little bit less.
Yeah, instead of marking it as a duplicate.
Okay. Why? What's your rationale behind that?
So there can be a possibility that if someone's being praised for something for more than a week or for many times in 1 week, then it probably adds significant value. I know that's questionable, but in my
Yeah.
opinion, in some cases it does. For example, working on the Commons config dashboard, that's a continuous process. You're not working
So
on it one day, you're working on it like a whole week or maybe a month. So that's why if
yeah.
multiple people are praising you, I would like to acknowledge that that praise is coming from different people and they might be praising it in a different context. That's my
I.
rationale behind it.
Mm-hmm. I would add to that, or maybe just to respond to it, that we do have like the percentage based modifier. And so like those duplicates, that original praise is actually getting valued higher from each duplicate that you mark it of. So like it is contributing to the value of it. And I think that was the original intent of the system with marking duplicates. We're acknowledging that like multiple people are praising the same thing, so it probably had a really high impact or a higher impact. And so my interpretation is that like in the case of here where you're marking the praise, you're quantifying it, but with a lower value, I would uh, suggest that instead you mark it as a duplicate. And if we see that these things should be valued more, there's actually just a parameter that we can change that will increase the value per duplicate.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
And
there
just
is
to
a
Yeah,
parameter.
clarify, and
Go
just to
ahead, Libby.
clarify, you sorry.
yeah, go ahead, Max.
I was just gonna say because you just talked about week to week quantification, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's week one of the month, you're quantifying it. If there's another praise in the same week, you're duplicating it. But then that second week, right, praise a week away, you are still quantifying that if it's the same thing. Effectively, it's almost like I get that we're doing a month at a time, but it's almost like we're bounding the quantification by week to some extent. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, you got it. And we'll be adding things into the UI um, that'll make it easier to identify one week from another.
Yeah, and also
Perfect.
from a data perspective, is interesting to have this information about duplicates. We could add a point in the analysis after for that.
Okay, cool.
Maybe I just missed it, but I didn't see anything about that bump. I think I heard it was 10% of the duplicates until I saw it in the Discord chat. I didn't see that percentage in the docs. Maybe I missed it, but um, it would be good to add if it's not there.
Cool. All right. Great. I want to move down here. I saw we got a couple more people here. Craig, do you want to tell us how your quant went? Oh, we can't hear you. You're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Um, Maybe I'll let you figure that out and just chime in when you have it fixed. And NT, do you want to just jump in?
Sure, yeah. It was pretty smooth overall. I was reading the comments, and I feel like I had pretty much the same issues with duplicates in that. Um, the only thing I'd say is probably the same about the period because it's a lot of praises and it gets a bit confusing. But you already said that there are improvements coming to the interface, so I guess it's fine anyways.
Okay, great. Cool. Afrodeva, I saw you just joined. Just so you know, this is the review session for the last Quant 3. I don't know if you were a quantifier yet, but yeah, we're just looking at the quantification that just passed and adding in any comments from our experiences and some suggestions, and then we'll be looking at the data itself and making any adjustments. Do you have any questions, Afrodeva?
Very new to this. I've been working at a different DAO, and I was going to steal your praise system. So yeah, this is perfect. I'm obviously observing that. So thank you.
You're sounding a bit muffled. I only caught half of what you said. Okay. Oh. Craig, did you manage to get your... no. No, I can't hear you at all. But if it doesn't work out, you should have access to the doc. And let's see if we've got edit access here. Yeah. So I mean, if you want to throw some stuff in there, Craig, you can just go ahead in the doc itself. And the links are in the quantifier support channel. Afrodeva, did you want to finish what you were saying?
Yeah, just observing. I'm working on a similar system on another DAO, and came across you guys recently. So just observing. Thank you.
Okay, cool. I don't know what you think, Livy, but I think we got a lot of feedback on sorting out duplicates. And we can go through this section if you want, but I kind of just wrote a big block of text for everybody.
Yeah, we can skip that. I think the main feedback people had in general was about the duplicates.
Was there one or two praises that specifically caught your attention? Why? And we can start with Zep if you have anything to add.
I mean, no one of them captured my attention, especially like, I was feeling like they were being praised for what the people was working on. I don't know, it felt natural. Like no one of them caught my attention specifically. I'll pass it to Enti.
NT.
What's the question? I'm sorry.
Was there any like one or two praises that caught your attention especially?
No, I don't think so.
Cool.
I'll pass it on to Maxwell.
Yeah, so I mean, I think in general, it looks like the dashboard stuff was going on a ton, right? But kind of the one-off ones that caught my attention, it looked like the Twitter account was locked out at one point. And so there was some praise around kind of getting that Twitter account back, which I imagine was important. And then another one around kind of getting some stuff through customs, which again, it's stuff that you wouldn't think you'd have to be dealing with in a digital organization, but that one stuck out at me as well.
Cool. And do you want to pass it?
Sure. Let's do Livy.
Thanks. And I wanted to highlight one for NT that you shared in the comments before. That was there was a lot of praise for like people taking vacation and taking time off and stuff. And I think that's a good cultural practice, so it shouldn't be dismissed. I thought that was a good comment, so I just wanted to share. And it did not something specific that caught my attention, but about the way we write praise. I think one issue with the duplicates was that it was very vague what was being praised. Like, oh, all the work with the dashboard, or all the work with the params, or so much that they're doing with this. So it feels like if each one of those were specific about different actions or different qualities that happen from one week to another, it would be way easier to give a specific value to that too, instead of calling it a duplicate. And I'll pass to Nugget.
Thanks, Lily. Yeah, well, just no praise specifically caught my attention, but it was kind of annoying. There was lots of praises which were like praising somebody for joining a meeting, but then they just added like one or two things which sometimes were like really, thoughtful stuff because they contributed, but sometimes it was just like clearly trying to say something nice apart from just praising for joining the meeting. And that was a bit annoying to quantify because on one side you're just discarding it because it's a meeting, but I ended up giving it like 1 point or something like that, which was because to kind of value this little nice thing that they said, but which yeah, it was a bit annoying. That's the only thing.
Just a clarification for you there, Nuggin. Since we won't be able to like retroactively track meeting attendance, we added a little addendum into the document saying that for now you should quantify meeting attendance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, like I wrote a thing in there suggesting like between a range of 1 to 5 at your
Okay.
discretion. But yeah, when we do have the meeting bot set up, we won't have to worry about that stuff, and I think it can be safely dismissed. But for now, since we have no way to go back and look at that data, we should be quantifying it.
Okay. Yeah, then maybe
Yeah.
it's a good thing that I ended up putting a 1.
Yeah, no kidding. Lansky, I saw you just joined here. Just letting you know, we're reviewing the latest quant session that just finished, and we're just collecting feedback from everybody in the call that participated, and then we'll be going through the praise data itself and making any adjustments collectively. Do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you for letting me learn from your experience.
Cool. Great. I'll pass it to who's left. Did we get everybody there? NT, did you go?
I think you're
Yeah, I
left.
did.
NT, you went. Okay, great. Now I really want to spend. I know there's a space here for general comments. Oh, I didn't go. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, I was really noticing a lot of the stuff on the CCD, and it was cool to see because I spent a lot of time working on it, and then it was nice to remember all of the action that was happening on it. Yeah, I want to spend a good chunk of time looking at the sheet itself because I think we have a lot of things to work through here. And then maybe we can get some general comments from that. Does that sound all right to everyone?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I added, you should have comment access on this document here, but I'll share it on my screen as well. And maybe we can just start from the top, and if we can see any discrepancies in the score, like if you guys can see here on the sheet, we've got score 1, 2, 3, 4, and score 1 corresponds to quantifier 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, you get it, and then we basically take an average of the 4 praises, and then we get the output there in the last column. And then we have the reasons here to the side, we've got the date on them. There's a lot of other data on here that I hid because it really just made it hard to read. But I think the best way for us would be to look at the scores and then look at the reason, and then maybe take a look at it after that. So if I'm looking down here, I can see relatively there's some stuff that we can just like it relatively comes out to like an okay score. But then this one here, like in row 5, you can see we've got 3, and then 144, and then 21. And so you can see that there's a big discrepancy here. And Maxwell, that was actually, yeah, you were mentioning it was your first time, so it was a bit hard. But maybe we can take a look at this one.
Yeah, so I have it on my other screen here. So that was launching Agave.
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe I didn't understand what launching Agave entailed. It sounded like something that was a large effort, but clearly people who maybe know better disagree. So I'm happy to drop that down.
Yeah, I mean, Zep, you're in there too, actually. Maybe, do you have any comments?
I mean, yeah, like I feel like yeah, launching Agave, it's a nice thing, but it is not advancing the token engineering field so much. So I feel it's like another project. Like you can praise someone for launching any project. Yeah, for me it was not relevant praise.
Mm-hmm. And for you, it was pretty ordinary. You gave it a 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Nuggin, you were like kind of middle of the road. You're like, 21.
Yeah, well, because agave is pretty big stuff, and yeah, the thing is, since I don't know who was being praised, I thought maybe it was somebody from the Common Swarm, which kind of had been working there on the side, like from the TC in a way. So I kind of didn't want to give it like 3 points or 5 points, like if I was praising somebody doing something completely different. But on the other hand, it's a project which is outside of the TC directly, so I didn't feel comfortable giving them a lot of points. So that's what I settled for 21. But maybe it was a bit too much too.
I think it was a big thing that they pulled off. I mean, launching a platform that ultimately added value to the whole Gnosis chain ecosystem. But what I hear from you, Maxwell, is that like you didn't really fully understand what it was, but it seemed like somebody launched a big project that was related to the TEC.
Yeah, like when I hear they launched on Agave, right? In my head, there's, what tokens did they launch? Like it's so generic, right? How big of how much quantification went into that? Did they have to do any pricing around it? How many people were involved? Was that person leading the effort, or was it just a, hey, I did this in a half an hour, right? Because I wasn't around to understand what the actual effort was. It just sounded, and I would rather err on the side of higher praise than not giving someone praise for this huge effort, right? That they spent hours or weeks on. So that was in my head where it was. But again, if it was literally going to Agave and clicking a couple token and starting a pool and it took a half an hour, then yeah, it totally makes sense that it would be a smaller effort.
Yeah, and so the thing is that Agave wasn't directly related to TEC, and so it's not like somebody launched a project from TEC. It was like this side thing that kind of added value to us, but not directly. And so it's like if 144 is the greatest possible contribution you can make to token engineering commons, then would this seem like one of those cases?
Yeah, I'm happy to drop it down. And again, I also didn't have the context that it wasn't directly related to TEC either, right? So I'd be happy to drop. I still think it's a decent amount of effort, without getting into the details. So I'd be happy to drop it down to like 34 or that range.
Go ahead, Livy. You.
Yeah, this brings back kind of the important. And when we first started to do praise, there was a tier system of like if something was directly contributing to the cultural build, there was one value. If something was a token engineering project that was somehow related to the TDC, there was another value. And then if it was something totally unrelated with the TDC, there was another value.
And I understand that for newcomers, it must be really hard to make that distinction. So I don't know, maybe we could think about something to help out.
Okay, cool. All right. Cool. Oh, no, that was the wrong one. Why does it do that? Ah, nice. There we go. Oh, and then this just gives it a straight value. It's not actually like that's annoying. Oh boy. Any spreadsheet wizards, guys? Dear God, help me. Somebody help me.
It's not doing the average automatically?
No, it's just a straight value.
Uh,
Okay. Well,
I only have comment. I could fix it, but I only have comment, I think.
okay.
At least the account I'm in only has comment because I have like a bajillion Google accounts.
Yeah, I didn't want to give too many people the power just to go in and start changing stuff in here.
Let's see if I can comment.
I think I figured it out. I did the maths. Cool. Well, let's keep moving on down here. And you guys can go ahead and just like, if you notice any particular rows that seem to stand out to you, instead of me deciding.
I-144s will probably stand out. A quick generic question. I don't know if this makes sense to put on the other sheet, but when you do duplicates, so if I mark so how does it work when, because I saw that you can praise multiple people in the same line, right? So it's, A praises X, Y, and Z. So if I mark that comment as duplicate, does it get marked as duplicate for every single person, or do
No.
those get split out?
They get split.
And they effectively, it's 3 lines of praise, right? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it goes from praise giver to praise receiver, and then it'll show up separately for each receiver that's being quantified.
Perfect.
Once we see 0 is because they were dismissed, right?
Yeah, or they didn't do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, there's another one here. We got line 26. We got Brazilian hacking skills on the CCD.
So in general, because I saw so much praise on the CCD, it sounded like a very large effort, but it was very hard to distinguish people's roles and what role they were being praised for. So I, in general, did one of the top 2 for contributions to the CCD, and then, like I said, there was a ton of duplicates. So if there's more context on what they actually did, I'm happy to drop it down. But in general, I quanted high for people who seem to be directly coding against the CCD, which I guess brings me to another question of, I thought at some point or at some level the actual coding was getting quantified separately. Was it source cred or something else? But maybe that's a separate question.
Yeah, we'll be able to track GitHub issue, like the GitHub action, but it'll just do like the objective actions. It won't be like looking at the quality of the code they did or anything like that. It'll just be like, how many commits did they do? Pull requests, merging, I think, creating issues. I can't remember. So those objective actions will be caught and quantified by a source cred. I think they were pretty important contributions. I don't know if anyone else has any comments. Like I can see Nuggin was in there.
Yeah, I think I just put it a bit lower because I felt like I had been quantifying it so many times. So maybe I should have just put it as duplicate. But yeah, I would agree to raise it a bit. That's no that's no
Mm-hmm.
issue.
And then I have another comment here, and it's sometimes like the praise on the TC are so general, like they praise, I don't know, for working on the CCD, and they praise a lot of people, and some people work more than others, and sometimes who is working more, sometimes you don't. But even if you don't know or do not know, having the names, it helps to quantify better, at least if you are aware of what's going on.
I also have a thing with these important contributions, like those phrases that are like constantly repeated and seem like something important. I'm tempted to give a high score, but then I think like if I give a high score to one praise, I either mark all the related as duplicates or give all the related a high score as well. And I'm sometimes I tend to maybe lower a bit the score, so I praise the similar ones with a similar score. I don't know if that makes sense.
I'm
I
trying
think
to
the
understand. Go
I
ahead.
think the idea would be to give a high value to one contribution and then mark all the others as duplicates. But I see how annoying that is because I was trying to do that, and
Yeah,
sometimes they're far down the line or they are slightly different, and then you're like, oh, is this maybe a different contribution? So yeah,
yeah.
it's not that easy.
Great. I want to keep moving here. And so, based on just this slight discussion, like would Nuggin or Maxwell, would you change any of your scores?
Yeah, I would raise it. I would put it in line with yeah, I put maybe 21 or 34. Let's say 34 or 21 is okay.
No, it's done. It's done. And Maxwell?
If this is the CCD one, right?
Yeah.
If if I'm dropping this one down, I'd likely just drop all of the CCD ones down because I was trying to be consistent with my CCD quants.
Cool.
So at that
Cool.
point, it would be, maybe drop it down one or two levels for all of them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. We'll deal with it line by line. Then create the sum. Cool. Okay. And then yeah, looking at this one here, number 28, EVM CRISPR, an amazing tool. ZEP 144,035.
Yeah, I feel that's
I
what.
think this thing's great. Go ahead, Zep.
Yeah, I was just going to say like this is like probably the best tool. The commons are left to the TC. I mean, to any DAO. It's an open source tool, and but it was built specifically for the TC. So I think it was a huge contribution. And actually, at the day of today, that we don't have devs working, thanks to this tool, we can do many decisions on the DAO. So I think it's very important.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
back that up. Go
yeah,
ahead, Nug.
I think in my case it was also like before. I had rated it higher before, and I just didn't want to make it a duplicate. Yeah, so I would raise it on my side. Anyway, I'm kind of feeling like that's an issue that I felt. I think I brought it up already once. That I think the scope is too wide. Like between 1 and 144. Like for me, while I was quantifying, I never really went beyond, I think, 34 or 60, just because it didn't feel proportional. So yeah, but that's maybe just me, and I have to kind of opened my mind there. I don't know.
Go ahead, Livy.
Oh, sorry, I didn't say anything.
Oh, I saw you unmuted. That was something that I captured from the test quants, that the range is too big, and I think it's something I mentioned to Christopher, and like maybe we can talk about it in the reward board, like lowering the scale to maybe 7 points or 5 instead of 10. But that's definitely something I've heard before.
Yeah. Also, if I can say it, this morning I was taking a look at the dashboard and I added some box plots for the quantifiers. And also, it also jumped out to me that there was a big difference between some quantifiers who really use all the range and others that keep the range pretty small. So I think it is being an issue right now in the test quants already. Too.
Cool. All right, that's good feedback, and yeah, hopefully we can figure that out. It's not something we can like just decide and change right away, but definitely we should figure this out. Based on any of this here, would Zap or Nuggin, would you change any of your scores?
No, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pump it up on my side. I don't know. Was there a point between 34 and 89? It was like 56 or something,
34,
right?
55, and then 89,
Yeah.
I think.
55.
All right. Well, Matoto's not here, so I don't think I'm gonna change his score, but we'll just create a song for this.
Shouldn't be like unquantified price, like don't do the average, like should be like 1, 2, and 3, 1, 3, and 4, and divide 3.
What's that, Zap?
Like I feel it's not fair, like if someone is not quantifying, like the contribution gets dumped so much. Like I feel it would be more percent.
It.
Oh, I mean, yeah, if he dismissed, then that's a different story. But yeah, I feel it's hurting the contribution because it's instead of, like, I feel like if especially if it's not quantified, if it dismissed, that's another story. But if it's not there quantified and then get 0, it's like people was not working, and I feel it's yeah, it's hurting because the people who have, if Metodo in this case is not quantifying, all the people that got quantified by Metodo, it's going to get less value just because he didn't quantify.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. That's bad.
So we should change something so that if they don't quantify it, it almost gets removed entirely, and so then we take like a smaller average.
Yeah, something like that.
That'd be great.
I would agree with that.
Okay. Cool.
And there shouldn't be so many dismissed praise should be used just for something like this. Oh, for there's like no information at all. If there's a lot of dismissed praise, is there a way to see somewhere if it was dismissed or if it was not
I gotta
done?
open up some of these hidden tabs. Could get messy. See how this. Source name. There we go. Okay, so what were we on here? Does anybody remember the row?
Oh no, then the values disappear.
It was EVM CRISPR. There we go.
It was row 28, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we can see that he did mark it as duplicate or dismissed.
Dismissed. Yeah, that feels like a praise like this shouldn't be dismissed.
Interesting. Well, yeah, I think that might be like a more of a an educational thing.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I'll hide these, and maybe we'll just keep these 4 extra tabs open so that we have a bit more info. These again. Okay. Well, if it's all fits on the page, that's good. Cool. Well, I don't think this is something that I really want to like go behind people and change their scores, but it definitely highlights something that we need to work on. Right. Okay. Maybe we should think about maybe having a more rigorous onboarding process. Anyway, we got 12
Well,
minutes. Go ahead, Nugget.
yeah, I think I won't speak for Metodo, but I think maybe it can also be that he just didn't know what EVM CRISPR is exactly, so it kind of felt like agave, and he thought like, okay, well, if agave is something external, maybe he would dismiss that too, and thought that EVM CRISPR was the same. So maybe
But yeah, but still,
it
that's not
happened.
really.
Yeah, but it happened
That's
so long ago on, so I don't know.
yeah, but I don't think like that's how we framed dismissing praise. I think, and so maybe that's just something that we have to be more explicit about.
Yeah, I'll probably add a +1 to having a more rigorous way to apply as a quantifier. Because honestly, when I did it, I wasn't even sure that it was for that. When I put the command in there, I thought it was just to register, like to pair my account with my address. Anyways, I'm okay with that. And also on the comment about dismissing the EVM CRISPR, I think making being a quantifier a bit harder could help as well, because at least in my opinion, it is implicit that when you quantify, there's a bare minimum amount of research on the quantifications,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something probably people that want to quantify should like agree on, like or no
Sure.
sé cómo se dice, like
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. We're at a weird point because it's like we need so many quantifiers. Like at this point, to do the quants, we're basically using the whole pool every time, which wouldn't normally be the case, but right now, since the periods are so huge because there's so much catch up to do, it's like we're hungry for bodies, and then maybe we're cutting corners on some of this process that should be a bit more thorough.
I
But
think it's valuable.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's valuable to get the different opinions. Like clearly, I to some extent I like seeing the spread. But even that was my comment at the beginning, right? Even just having new quantifiers attend one of these sessions, this has been so helpful, right? And maybe we record one of these, right? Where we talk about it, or record a summary where we go through the results more briefly, so it's not an hour-long recording that they have to watch. But just give them some baseline. So incredibly helpful.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I agree.
I want to keep chugging through this since we got 8 minutes left. At least if we can get down to some of these other ones. And please go ahead, tell me if I'm missing anything here. But the next one that jumps out to me is
49.
49. Yeah. And
So this is all the work on Twitter comment.
Twitter.
It seemed like I didn't see, I had a lot of Twitter duplicates for just generic small comments. It seemed like it encompassed a large body of work. And also it wasn't just like a discrete thing, it was praising consistent long-term effort. So I'm okay, understanding how high 144 is, I'm okay knocking it down maybe 2 levels. but I'd still like to keep it because that a small amount of work, but staying up on it and being consistent about it is incredibly helpful for a community, especially to bring new members in and things like that.
Mm-hmm. I'm really curious here. Innovator dismissed it. That's interesting. Doesn't like Twitter, I guess. Okay. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of work we need to do around like clarifying when to dismiss and when not to dismiss. Let's keep chugging along here. I've got another one here. This one, hey, Crazy Pram's doing a great job cleaning everything. Anything else you see, anyone in here? What's this about? So this is marked as 0, but it's not marked as dismissed. So it looks like it wasn't quantified. Weird. Or maybe it was marked as a duplicate. To look at this stuff again. Yeah, this seems to be like what you're saying, Nuggin, with the range being too big, you know? It's like
Yeah.
everyone kind of sticks to one side here. Oh, Mount Manu really loves this one. Working all day with Pedro on the dashboard.
Yeah, again, I think my score is that low because it was like the 5th or so. So I probably just I kind of opted to give lower numbers and just don't mark them as duplicates, but maybe that's the wrong way to go. I would
No,
have
you
no
should
problem.
mark it as a, yeah.
I could put it up like 2 or 3 levels, easy. And it was just not quantified by the rest.
Mine was probably a duplicate. I had a ton of CCD feedback.
Let's see what this little duplicate row says.
I think instead of lowering the scale, we should just rely a little bit more on education and see if it gives a good change before before we lower that, because I think it is important to have, like, we don't always need to use the highest score, but I think it's important that is there for contributions that are very valuable. And something Christopher said last week, that if you think like coming to a meeting is one, for example, what is something that is 144 times more impactful than that? And having kind of this thought with the scale.
Okay.
And I've heard the whole coming to a meeting as one a few times. So, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, but actually, there's how many of us, 8 something on this call. I think coming to a meeting and spending an hour of your day is not nothing. Whereas,
Right.
I saw like some of the socials, like retweeting something, that to me, that takes 5 seconds. That was more like at least from my perspective, that was more like a 1.
Yeah, I just want to add, because like people should, like, if you did something exceptional during the meeting, like you might get praise for that, but the problem is that we don't know what they did in the meeting. So if they just sat in a room and were quiet, we have no way to see if they actually added value. So
Yeah,
like
for
some
sure.
people there's a lot of praise in there for the gravity training, I think. So it's like, wow, praise this person for like bringing this to the gravity meeting, and like then we have more information to go off of. But if they just say thanks for coming to the meeting, it's like we don't really have much context. And so what I was saying is, like, the more vague it is, I tend to give it a lower value. And over time, we should encourage people to add more context to their praise.
Yeah, totally agree. My floor for meeting was 3 because actually, even if you don't say anything, going to a meeting and spending your time in a meeting even if you're just listening and observing, seemed to me a floor of 3 was appropriate for that, whereas some of the, hey, I retweeted something was, a 1, for example. And that was just my perspective. But no, I totally agree. When it was more specific and I could understand what they were contributing to the meeting, then it was higher.
And I think that's great that you have a different floor, and that that's part of the quantification, is that every person values in a different way something. Yeah, I just gave an example of how I would value meetings, but I appreciate that you have a different opinion.
Cool. Let's keep chugging through this stuff. So we got 2:30. Pram's hack session 83589.
I'm okay dropping it. In general, I had a ton of params and CCD duplicates, and so I picked one high and then duplicated everything else. So I'm okay
Nice.
dropping it
Okay.
down 1, but I mean, I had probably over half my quants for duplicates for param and CCD.
But I don't think it makes sense to drop if you were basing a lot of the duplicates on that value.
Okay.
Uh, 381 and 383 can drop down to 89. I had them at 144s, but again, they were CCD related, so had a ton of duplicates.
381.
383. Those two 144s there, I'm fine dropping those to 89s.
Yeah. And 383. Oh boy, this is tough stuff. Well, this is interesting. I think I've learned a lot about how I need to format this. Wow, we're at the top of the hour already. Oh no. Why do you want? Sorry guys, we ran out of time.